You probably buy gold and silver for safety and security, but recently we're hearing talks of bank runs, in particular earlier this week with the situation unfolding at Credit Suisse. Have you heard of them? It's a 166-year-old bank based in Zurich, Switzerland, if I have that correct, and they are in deep, deep trouble. It's a big bank, it's an old bank, and they are having serious financial difficulties. The key here is, are you in danger? Am I in danger? We buy silver, we buy gold, we buy precious metal mining stocks because we want safety and security. Are they going to protect us? And what's going on with Credit Suisse that could affect you and me? We're going to talk about that right now. What do you think of when you hear about bank runs, right? The Great Depression. People couldn't get their money out of the bank. If you're sitting right now with a big pile of silver or gold in front of you, you're not worried about bank runs. You've got it right there, right in front of you. You don't have to worry about the bank failing or derivatives failing or anything like that. But let's talk about what's going on with Credit Suisse, because even though it can't really directly affect any silver or gold you're staring at right now, it still can affect us. And we're going to cover that a little bit later in this video. But let's talk about a headline that came out yesterday. Credit Suisse craters to all-time low after revealing a staggering $88 billion bank run. Basically, wealthy individuals withdrew over $88 billion from Credit Suisse. This was covered by all the major news agencies. And again, that gold and silver you're looking at right now, you don't have to worry about going to your local bank branch, your local Credit Suisse branch to withdraw your gold and silver. You have it right now, right in front of you. Now, the company's stock has absolutely cratered from an all-time high of around $80 per share all the way to less than $4 per share today. People are calling it historic outflows of capital from Credit Suisse. Now, there's something we need to talk about. There's an elephant in the room when it comes to Credit Suisse that could affect you and me. Could actually affect the value of that silver and gold, that big pile. I know you got a big pile that you're staring at right now, and that is derivatives, credit default swaps. I've made other videos on the subject. They're not that complicated, guys, but they're these financial instruments between the big major banks where they basically all insure one another. Warren Buffett called them like the nuclear weapons of the financial world. If Credit Suisse were to completely default, it could very likely set off a tsunami of credit default swap defaults and just create total economic chaos. Now that might affect us, right? But it would also affect the value of that little pile or big pile of silver and gold you have sitting in front of you right now. It would likely make the value of that physical metal that you hold in your possession go up, up, up. And I bet you want to hear about your old friend Jerome Powell at the United States Federal Reserve, and we're going to talk about him next. But first, thank you for joining me on Thanksgiving. I'm grateful for you. Every time I walk down those steps, I'm thinking of you. It's me and you right now from wherever in the world you are. And since it's Thanksgiving, we're giving the bear a one-day reprieve. His blindfold has been removed and will be put back on, not to be removed again until gold hits $3,500. Now, my wife says that I said $2,500, but I think it's $3,500, and that's what I'm going to stick with. If you remember me saying $2,500, you let me know. Now, let's get back to the video. Not until after you subscribe, if you haven't already. Jerome Powell in the Federal Reserve. Don't you find this interesting that about 5-6 weeks ago, there was this little news item that came out that said the Federal Reserve had essentially, through one of their fancy mechanisms, shipped over $11 billion to Switzerland. There is much speculation, and I would say rightful factual speculation, that money was being used to help bail out Credit Suisse. What do you think? Is this officially a bank run? I did read a statistic that said that was only about 6%, that $88 billion. Nonetheless, we know that wealthy people are pulling their money out of Credit Suisse. The Wall Street Journal said it. Reuters said it. Everyone is recognizing that big money, and this is key. Think about this. Look at the forest through the trees. Big money, they're pulling it out of Credit Suisse because they're afraid of the solvency of the company. What do you think they're doing with it? I don't know. There's a lot of gold and silver leaving the vaults of the COMEX and the LBMA. That's just a thought, but maybe these wealthy people are realizing they want to get their hands on some physical metal, much like the Chinese, the Russians, and all the other BRICS countries are doing. This situation at Credit Suisse could be very real. They have, quote unquote, slipped below certain minimum regulatory requirements, basically meaning like the amount of assets they have aren't big enough for their liabilities. These banking regulations are put in place to try to make sure these banks don't slip into a position where they're going to default. And it looks like Credit Suisse is maybe sliding in that direction. Now, I want to give you a quote from Mr. Vontobel's Andreas Vendetti. He said, massive outflows in wealth management are deeply concerning and have not reversed. So think about it one more time. What are the wealthy people? This is a Swiss bank. The wealthy people are pulling their money out of the bank. They don't want the counterparty risk. They want to be like you. They want to be looking at their money and have it and not have to rely on Credit Suisse to manage it for them because they are scared. At least that's how I see it. I could be dead wrong, just my opinion. But I think we could agree on one thing. We'd both be rather sitting here looking at a pile of silver and a pile of gold as opposed to a pile of paper statements from Credit Suisse. We'd rather have the real asset, the real money right in front of us, not some paper make-believe money, unicorn fart dust, if you will. And I know one thing on top of that, even as much as having that gold and silver sitting there, I'm glad you're sitting here with me right now. I appreciate your time. I am thankful for you, grateful for you. You know that, and you know you're always welcome to be here in Ron's Basement with me. I'm going to look forward to seeing you next time.